Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if you've spent a second here, you will know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business or be successful in your marketing career. So I am here giving you everything I know about sales and marketing. I'm pulling in anyone I can find with experience that is relevant to the success of your career or your business to extract what they know about sales and marketing. I am reviewing the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet, and every couple of weeks we bring you the marketing news. But today is Talk Marketing, and so we have a guest. So today's guest is an economics and business administration graduate with a master's in strategy, organization and leadership. He started work as a student teacher in 2006. Since then, he has been an innovation project manager at the Copenhagen Business School, lectured about Excel, that's Microsoft Excel, has been country manager for the Nordic region for both Elance and Upwork. He has held 3 CMO and 1 head of marketing position. He is currently co-founder and CMO of Dreamdata, which offers go-to market efficiency and presents transparent, actionable analysis of what drives business-to-business revenue. So we're talking today about B2B attribution. What in your marketing is actually delivering success for you? Today's guest is Steffen Hedebrandt. And I was going to, Steffen, check how we pronounce your surname, because I don't think you pronounce it like an English person in Denmark.
You did quite well, Martin, I would say, for an English speaker. Definitely approved.
Okay, I would have, because I lived in South Africa for a little bit. Would there be it's not like a head, it's a Hedebrandt.
No, it's more like you don't push hard on the D, so in Danish it would be Hedebrandt.
Hedebrandt. Okay, well, I knew there was something going on there in the way of pronunciation. I knew there was something going on that I wasn't getting. How are you doing, man? It's good to be talking to you. You are in Denmark, are you?
I am, yes, in Copenhagen, the capital of Denmark.
Excellent. And how's the mood in Denmark? You're coming into winter. It's going to get cold.
Yeah, and I think somebody just blew up some gas pipes just outside of the Danish territory last night. So the politicians are a little bit cautious right now.
Oh my God! I didn't know that someone had blown up the gas pipes.
No, there's no. They say they have no proof, but who has the sentiment not to produce gas for the winter in Europe?
Oh my
God! I think that's the story.
Yeah, the thing is, you need all the gas you're going to get really this winter, I think. So that is. Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Okay, on a brighter note, Copenhagen was voted the happiest capital city in the world, wasn't it, for a number of years?
Yeah, it's definitely a very nice place to live. I'm very happy here.
Excellent. Okay, cool. That's good. I've never been. I'd like to come to visit Copenhagen.
Yeah, make sure it's the summertime you're coming, Martin.
Okay, you don't recommend the winter?
No, definitely not.
Okay, super cool. I will come in the summer and I will track you down and you can buy me a beer. That's the way we will work it. I will. Okay. All right, super cool. But we're not here to talk about Copenhagen or Denmark or gas pipes. We're here to talk about what I think is a really interesting subject. Like, you're in the data business. I teach digital marketing. We do digital marketing for the data. But the frustration, I think, very often is how much data is actually available to us. I mean, I'm in a privileged position because I don't do it very much anymore. And I teach, so I can paint like the ideal picture for the students and get them really excited. But I know when they go out in the world, it's not going to be quite as rosy as the picture that I've painted. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. I'm really fascinated, interested. You know, I tell people when I teach them digital marketing, it should be like driving a car, and the data should be like the instrumentation that you have on the dashboard of your car. But in reality, I don't feel like it's exactly like that. But I don't have to imagine what it's like. We've got you, and you can tell us exactly what it's like. So, as you know, there's only 5 questions. The first question is, how are you qualified to talk to us about business-to-business attribution? You might need to define attribution for our audience as well, so we'll start there. The second question is, who do you work with? How do you add value to their lives? The third question is, what is your recommendation for people who want to get better at B2B attribution? The fourth question, really easy, what should people read? And the fifth question, who can you throw under the bus who might endure or maybe even enjoy to have a conversation like this with me? So question number one, Steffen, how are you qualified? Well, firstly, what is business-to-business attribution? And then you can tell us how you're qualified to talk to us about it.
Yeah, happy to, Martin. So B2B describes the businesses who trade with other businesses, opposite of businesses who could be selling running shoes. So you as a business sell to a consumer. Normally you call that B2C. So meaning that when businesses trade with businesses, there's a significant layer of complexity added to the customer journey, whereas like in B2C, it's typically me, searches on Google, clicks on an ad, and buy a running shoe. In B2B, the journey is typically 6 months long or 12 months long. There might be 2, 3, 4, 5 people in like a buying committee, and there's a million touches between your team and their team as the customer journey progresses. And all these things makes it very hard for people to understand what's going on if you don't have a very decent setup for like controlling what data you care about and what data you don't care about. So the word attribution basically just means one, make sure you collect all the data you have about customer journeys, and then two, understand which parts of which of those touches were actually the important touches. So when we're in B2B marketing, typically our touches is in the earlier part of the journey because it's the salespeople who gets the contract signed. So us as B2B marketers, we want to understand which of our activities are consistently, you could say, starting up new journeys that end up becoming deals that the salespeople sell to. Whereas you could also be doing a lot of stuff which would never ever progress to the sales pipeline or to new business being won. And you want to get rid of the things you do that is not producing more money for your company.
Okay,
and then coming. So and then my background for this is that I've been in B2B marketing ever since I graduated university more than 10 years ago now. And before this company, I was part of this kind of classical growth journey from less than 20 employees to 100 employees and spending zero on ads and spending around 100,000 euros on ads per month at the end. And in the beginning, you have a pretty good idea as you put in some money, like what is the causality between we did this and then this happened on the other side. But the last 10 or 20,000 euros you put into the monthly budget, you don't really have an idea about what becomes of it. And that is not a very responsible or good way to be doing business. You should have a quite good idea about if I do A and B, then C comes out on the other. And this was a topic I was super interested in my last company. And at the end of my tenure there, I basically met my two co-founders who had a very ugly prototype of this product we sell today at Dreamdata. But I suddenly could see that I could, with the ugly prototype, start to see which of these ads that I buy 6 months later ends up becoming pipeline for the salespeople, or which of my content pieces are the ones that produces buyers and which of them is just producing people who look at the content. So there's all these very granular questions about my marketing activities. I started to be able to see there's actually somebody here who can tell me that what works and what doesn't work. And that got me, very convinced, because I knew the pain firsthand that if you can build a product here, you can build a pretty great business around it.
Okay, excellent. And I think that's the crux of the issue, isn't it? It's what works and what doesn't. So it was John Wanamaker who said in the middle of the 19th century,
Yeah.
I know that 50% of my advertising is effective. I don't know which 50%. And what I tell people on my courses is that if somebody you employ comes to you and says that in 2022, then you should take them out into the car park and dispense with them, because that's just not accessible. That's just not acceptable. That's not what we're doing anymore. You know, we are data-driven marketing teams. Apart from, it's not quite as simple as that. So that's cool. So tell us about, for anyone who might not understand quite what a buyer journey is. What do you mean by buyer journey?
So if you picture a company buying a piece of software, then we're basically talking about any touch that led up to you signing the contract with a company. So that could be, if we describe it, that it could be somebody searching on Google for a specific term, attribution. Then we would show you an ad, and then you'd go to our website. Then as you browse our website, you might download our ebook, and that's all you do for this day. Then the next day we send you another email with a new blog post, because if you like that ebook, then you probably would like this blog post as well. And then you click this blog post from your phone and come back into our website and read this blog post. And then, 6 months might go by, you're exposed for some ads. Now your boss comes and tells you, hey, we actually need a product that does ABC. And that was actually what this ebook was about back then. So it's kind of trying to, step by step understand what makes those money end up in your bank account. And if we can understand this journey of every new business we've won, then hopefully we'll be able to replicate some of the things that are consistently present in those buyer journeys.
Yes, 100%. And this is what I say to the people I teach, given that I don't have to do it, is that the mission is kind of like you just go on this loop continuously. And it is a journey. You're taking people from a place where they don't even know you exist to a place where they're putting money in your bank account, and there is a journey. And like you say, there's touch points on the way. So I don't know, they might see a social post, they might walk past your exhibition stand, they might sit and watch a video at some point, they might Google you, there's lots of different places. And the mission then is to know which of those marketing initiatives have been effective. So then you can redirect resource into the most effective marketing resources, and that will have the effect of increasing the efficiency of your marketing. So that's the way I understand it. It's complicated because how on earth do you know, really? So the one that I've put in there is them walking past your exhibition stand. Now, how would you know if that's happened? How would you know if they've watched your YouTube video on the subject? How would they know if they've been in the pub with a colleague telling them, you should check out these guys? So there is always in this some unknowns. What's interesting about what you're saying is that you're making decisions about which of these are important touches. Explain how do you deal with that issue? You can never 100%
I think
know.
you're exactly, and we will never say to anybody we'll tell you 100% of what's going on. So you're completely right, Martin, that there's stuff that is measurable, and then there's stuff that is either hard to measure or impossible to measure. And here that's where you kind of need your gut feeling and common sense and experience, as well as a marketer.
All right, sorry, can you hold that point there? There's someone in the street and the dog's barking at them. It's not going to stop until we go. I'm going to be back in 90 seconds. Okay. Sorry, Steffen.
Fine.
Sorry, man. I will put a little cut in there. Where are we? We are at 15 minutes. Cut. Okay, cool. So sorry, do you know what you were saying?
Yes. So we were coming from you saying that, meeting somebody at a pub or walking by an exhibition stand, that's hard to measure, and you're completely right. So what our tool is doing at Dreamdata is we're taking anything that is digitally measurable and mapping that into a customer journey. Then there's still things that takes place that is valuable, but almost unmeasurable. People in a community on Facebook or Slack writing to each other, recommending stuff, etc. And that's just how the world is. So we will take any data that you sit upon and map into a customer journey, but then you'll still also have to, use common sense and your gut feeling and experience as a marketer to think about, is this still a meaningful activity to do? Is it the right people that gets the right message?
Yes. Okay. Because I have what do I have? I think the world is starting to think a little bit differently about kind of digitalization. I think we've got to the point where a lot of respect was given, too much respect was maybe given to digital, and too much importance was given to digital. Now, we love digital as marketers because, we can justify everything that we're doing, but I'm thinking maybe it's less of the picture than we've been attributing to it, and it's going to be less of the picture as we go forward. I think people are behaving differently around digital now. What do you think?
Kind of yes and no. I do think that there's things that digital is consistently valuable, but then there's also people who underestimate the power of actually having a beer with somebody at a conference or seeing an ad on a billboard 2 times a day probably also leaves an impression of a brand, so forth. But I think the most important thing is that you just, for any marketing activity, you're critical about, is it the right people who's going to see my marketing? Is it proper messaging for the right person? And then what is the cost of this thing? And then sometimes you actually have strong quantifiable numbers that this works. And other times you have to run a little bit on the gut feeling as well.
Yes. Because also it's, I really hope that we're not going to get to the point where we stop having beers at conferences with people. I really hope that that's not going to end. So by the term attribution, we are attributing value essentially to the marketing initiatives. Like, which marketing initiatives do we attribute with a contribution to making that lead or that sale? That's what we can do. So I suppose
exactly,
because even if it's digital, it's complicated. So I don't know the answer, but do we know when they've seen a display ad if they don't click on it? Do we know when they've seen a pre-roll ad? Do we know, because it's not until they kind of identify themselves that we have any idea who they are.
Exactly. So you're right. Those are good examples of stuff that where you don't get access to know who's watching what. So what you can do today is you can have a tracking script on your own website that monitors everything that enters your entity. But you cannot, Google or LinkedIn or Facebook do not expose who views something. That would be illegal for them. So you can only measure stuff that takes place on places you control.
Okay. So you can, when they come onto your website, you can see their IP address, and you can put a cookie on their machine, on their browser, whatever. And at that point, you can start to know where they're turning up. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So, and initially they will be anonymous because, when you first enter a website, you don't know who they are. You might see which IP address they represent, but you don't know who that person is. And so they might have 3, 4, 5 visits to your website while they're anonymous. What our technology does is that we record every visit. Where did they come from? What did they do on the website? but they will just keep writing to that anonymous log. And then once people submit a form on a website, this is where we get consent to look at what they did in their past sessions on the website. So now we know that Martin has been on our website 5 times, and he came from these sources and he looked at these pages, but not before he gives his own consent for us to take the unidentified ID and connect it with, something that is actually Martin Henley.
Okay, and can you do that retrospectively? So when they sign up, then you can attach them to that IP address which has been showing up. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. You see, what I'm feeling now is that you can only really, so I'm seeing now that quite broadly, you can say, okay, this piece of content consistently appears in the buyer's journey. This piece of content consistently appears in the buyer's journey. So these are having positive effects in that people are showing up on our website and telling us who they are and giving us consent. Is that
the same with a particular ad you have running, or a particular keyword, or you want to see those things that are consistently present when people buy your product, and then you want to either do more of the same thing or do similar things to what seems to be working.
Okay. And I suppose then there are levels to this. Are there? Because if they're clicking on an ad, then you have a greater amount of control. You know exactly where you're sending them. So that is a much more controlled visitor than somebody who turns up on your homepage and just wombles about through looking at various pages. So does it make sense then? I'm only thinking out loud about this for the first time, maybe. Great. But does it make sense that you say, okay, we are interested to attribute, because there are different stages. So when we talk formally about buyer's journey, there needs to be awareness. There needs to be, I'm struggling now because I wasn't expecting to talk about this today. There needs to be, what do they call it? Consideration. There needs to be, there's 5 or 6, isn't there? The last one is...
maybe in a more there's attention, interest, desire, action is one model.
Yes.
In B2B, you typically name it something like maybe a lead, and then a marketing qualified lead.
Yes.
Sales qualified lead, and then a deal that you win. So you call the different stages different things according to how the account progresses through your system.
Yes. I'm tempted to look it up now, but it's something about attention, interest, desire, action is kind of the lead generation part, isn't it? But there is an established, it's attention, consideration, purchase. I think there's something between consideration and purchase, or consideration and purchase are next to each other. There's something between awareness and consideration. And then it's advocacy is kind of the final one, and maintaining the customer is in there as well. Yeah. And so I'm thinking, if you were to break this down and you say, okay, you have to go through those 5 steps, because people need to be aware of what you do. There needs to be some depth to they need to be aware that you exist. Then there needs to be some depth to their awareness of what you actually do and what it costs and how you deliver it and all those things. And then they will consider it, and then they will go through to purchase. So I'm imagining now that there'll be some value in doing the attribution maybe at 2 or 3 stages. So you can do, okay, this is what we attribute our website traffic generation to, and this is what we attribute our leads to, and this is what we attribute our sales to. So is that kind of how you work? I don't know. We haven't.
So the trick is actually to look at who do you actually end up selling to,
and then working it backwards.
Who reaches the sales pipeline? Exactly. And then you do more of those activities that make them trickle all the way down to becoming customers. So we don't want to optimize towards, getting more people to visit the website per se. That doesn't, it doesn't help us pay any salary. we want to do more of those activities where we actually sell to the customer, or at least they go very far in the journey. So we want to like have special attention to these activities and try to amplify those. And those activities who only pushes people to the website but never becomes buyers, we don't necessarily want to sustain those.
Brilliant. Perfect. Because who cares? If they don't end up buying, who cares? I mean, if anything, the danger is that you end up attracting more people who don't buy, and that ends up taking more resource, salespeople talking to people who've got no intention of buying. Brilliant.
Yeah. So a career advice for any marketer is to get as close to be able to prove that you are producing money with your activities as you can. Then the CFO, the sales manager, the CEO is always going to like your work. Whereas if you're showing up with, I guess we're doing these things because I think, and if you have no proof that you're producing money, then that's when you risk getting fired when there's an economic downturn.
100%. And this is exactly what I tell my groups, is that the marketing were always the victim, because you know, when the boss is in a bad mood, they'll come pick on us because we just spend money, and historically we've got no idea what value it is that we're deriving. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you spent £10,000. Where did the £10,000 go? It went on the billboard. Good. What happened after that? People drove past. You know, it's no story. Whereas now, with the amount of data that's available, then we can tell the whole story. You know, we did this. This was the outcome. This is what we've learned. This is what we're going to do going forward. You see, I like to talk to people about, if I'm pitching marketing, which I don't have to do anymore, I like to talk to them about cost of customer acquisition and lifetime customer values, because these are the metrics that demonstrate that you are not only generating money, but actually adding value to the bottom line. You are increasing the profitability of the business. If, as they say, if it's true that 30% of turnover is typically the cost of customer acquisition, and you can drive that down and you can drive the lifetime customer value up, then you are impacting the profitability. So we're together on that page. There is an issue here, isn't there, Steffen? There's a couple of issues here. One is about kind of the nature of data and the way people feel about data and the availability of data. And I think the best example is what's going on between Apple and Facebook, where Apple have essentially diverted the stream away from Facebook and decided, you know, if Facebook get their customers' data, that's probably the messiest way I could have said that. So there is an evolving attitude to data, and it is becoming increasingly regulated and increasingly more difficult to come by. What do you think about that?
So I think there's probably always going to be an internal, eternal cat and mouse chase between those who try to protect privacy and then those who want to exploit cookies and tracking and all the things you can do with these things. But it's just part of the game that, you know, you do what you can within the law at any given time, and then you try to make the most of the data that you have available. What Apple has been particularly hitting down on with something called intelligent tracking prevention is that they have started to delete cookies faster from ad platforms. So they only allow a cookie to sit from an ad platform, at least that's what they say, for around 24 hours. So this means that once they enter your website, you'll only be able to advertise to them within 24 hours, and then they will clean the cookie store. I can't remember the technical term. But it means that it's harder to connect that this device has actually been on our website before if the only tracking measure you have is the ad platform. But there's also been a rise of what you can call first-party data. and first-party data collectors, which means things that we track ourselves. And this is the bucket Dreamdata falls within. So we are just tracking what takes place on your website, meaning that today you came from Facebook, let's write that down. The next day you came from Google, we write that down. We're not utilizing this to retarget people and run ads towards them. We're just helping the company keep an overview of what's going on. And this type of cookies, which is set as a statistical tracking cookie and not an advertising cookie, tends not to get deleted. I don't know if that makes sense, Martin.
No, it makes 100% sense. So basically what you're saying is, like, there's a war going on between Apple and Facebook. You guys aren't involved because you're only interested in who sends you and when they, or who sends them and when they send them. Please tell me that you've actually got someone there sitting writing this down. I would love that. I think that would be really good for the employment statistics.
Yeah, no, we don't. But maybe just to recap, what I mean is that at any given time, there's going to be challenges, and your responsibility as a marketer is to come up with this equation of these are the activities we do, and then we produce money. Because then we can replicate this and scale it and put more money into it. I often think about it as, when I was playing computer games when I was a kid, there would always be like cheat codes you can find to the game, and then the game would get a significantly easier. And understanding the kind of customer journey that your customers take is, to me, the cheat codes to the game of marketing. Because if we understand which path they take, we can go out and do more of these things.
Cool. Excellent. And the thing is here is, though, I think you're not really cheating. All you're doing is, all you're doing really is the sensible thing, which is recording, the effect of the marketing investments that you make. So I think that there are people who are, this doesn't seem to me, I wouldn't describe this as cheating. I have a very definite idea of what the limits of. So, for example, Facebook recently were fined 400 million euros, I think, in Dublin in Ireland for failing to protect the contact details of children. Oh, that's cheating. Do you know what I mean? That 100% is cheating. I think you tracking who comes to your website and where they've come from, not even who, the IP addresses that visit your website. I don't think there's anything nefarious, underhand. To me, that just sounds eminently sensible, because increasingly now you're talking about ads. When I was busy with clients, we still got some benefit from the organic thing. We could put a good piece of content out there and it would get some traction in the world. Well, we all know that doesn't happen anymore. So now we are increasingly having to support that content with money to pay the platforms. Yeah. So I think it's only reasonable that we invest some time and energy in making sure that we are getting as much value as we possibly can out of that investment. And more importantly, understanding what's working so we can invest more in doing that rather than what's not working and invest less in doing that. But the platforms aren't necessarily on our side as marketers. They don't want us doing that work. They just want us throwing money at everything. You've got me on a rant now, Steffen. I'm sorry.
No problem.
But that's kind of how this is evolving. I was there when it's all happened. And I think that would be my recommendation, a little bit like yours. What I say to people all the time is make hay while the sun shines, because none of these things are getting better. Now is the time to do this, because it won't be as good tomorrow, and it won't be as good next year, and it won't be anything like as good in 5 years' time. So the thing is now, I think that there is some urgency. People need to pick up this stuff and actually be doing it, because, and I've been saying this to people since like 2008, like none of these platforms are making it easier for us. None of these platforms are interested in driving efficiency for us. They're interested in driving profits for them. Okay, good. I'll get off that rant. Okay, so do you want the good news?
Yes.
It sounds to me like you are eminently qualified to talk to us about business-to-business attribution. How do you feel about that?
I think I am.
Okay, good. You were confident that you were already. Okay, good. It's always a little bit sensitive when we get to that point, because what if I think you're not? Then we're going to have an interesting conversation from there. But I do. So that takes us then to question number 2. Question number 2 is, who do you work with and how are you adding value to their lives? So you're telling us that there's a tool here, is there? There's a piece of software that does this work. What is that?
Yes.
How does it work? Who's it designed for?
Yeah, so that's I think, I don't know if we said it, but it's called dreamdata.io. And what we basically do is we set up a data warehouse for our customers. And inside of this data warehouse, which is a fine word for a bucket, we set up this bucket for our customers, and then we extract data from all the tools that touches their customer journeys. And then we extract all of that data and load it into the bucket. And then our algorithms start to clean up and sort this data, which leaves them at the end with a timeline of every touch that we know of from every account. And then systems that typically touch the customer journey, it can be like a CRM system, which is where you keep a log of your communication with the customers. Which meetings did we have? Who did we call? It can be your email tools, so which tools are sending emails to the customers. It can be a customer success tool, and so forth. There's many tools that touches the customers. And then we extract the data from all the ad platforms. Which ads are you running? What do they cost? And then we track the website in the middle. And this basically means that if there's any digital touch that touches your customer journeys, we map that into a customer journey for our customers. And then you can ask, who is ideal customers for a product like this? Because in some businesses, as you mentioned in the beginning, Martin, they are very heavily driven by conferences and events. But there's other types of businesses who do the majority of their business online or digital. And we call them software as a service companies, so B2B SaaS companies. And they're kind of the way that they go to market is that they invest their money digitally in ads primarily. Then the salespeople sit, remote as we do today, and talk with the customers. And they also deliver their product online digitally, which means that you kind of have a closed loop of the whole customer journey, from the very first touches to the sales part to the product being delivered to the customers. And these are the people that we focus on, those who have a predominantly digital customer journey, because that leaves behind the most traces for us to map that into a customer journey.
Okay, brilliant. And that is important, because I don't think people spend enough time